Oh, what?
Huh? Before we get into some of the other ways to style things, it'll make a lot more sense if we have some purpose for that. So we want to do a couple things. First is that we want this like a footer here or something like that across all our pages, and we might do a header as well. And then what's important as well is we have on our home page here, it doesn't have the layout of our other pages. So if we wanted to share this sort of centered layout like so, we're going to want to create a layout component. So here we have our markdown file, and you can see we just have this div with a class container that pipes this information into it, or sends it along, whatever you want to call it. And then in our generic, this is what we use for our homepage template right here. And this itself just doesn't have the class container. So we could just easily put the class container there. But one thing we want to do is we don't want to have to keep going back and forth between files. And you know, a long time ago, when the web was early, this is what you had to do: is you would go into each individual page or file or whatever, and you know, set all the things up, and you'd have to maintain them all every time you made a change. So this is part of the modern tooling that, you know, Gatsby is letting you do as a static site generator. You know, it's not the only one that does that. I'm just letting you know that. So let's do that first, because, you know, as our templates or pages grow, we don't want to keep maintaining that. Like I said, so what we'll do is, it's pretty standard practice to create a folder here called components. And in components, we'll create an also standard thing, which is called a layout. Now this one, you do not have to do JSX. I guess we'll stick to JS for now. You can do either. There's a war about that, whether people think it's this old way to do things or not. I actually prefer them because I think it's a little more clear, and I like the additional icon and all that stuff. And when I have just standard JavaScript in my files, I just name them a JS file. But Gatsby commonly just sets them up as .js, so I'm going to do that. But you can name them either way. It really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a functional component here. And so this is going to be called layout. And in this layout, what I'm going to do is going to take a look at this right here, this div container. And I essentially just want that to be, you know, my entry point here. I don't know why I got rid of that other one. Could have just left that. And then what we'll do is, so we would get props passed here to us, and you can name this whatever you want. It's just a standard convention. And that's going to be an object. So we're going to destruct, pull off children here. I like how I started typing destruct, brain off. And then we're going to pass that along here. So I'll show you what that means, kind of through example. But what's simple about this is then we can say, okay, well, now this div can import layout, let's say, from, and you can go up to components and go into layout. Just get some nice auto completion there, and then we'll put it in markdown, and then I'll show you. So same thing here. Oh, and actually, before I do that, let's actually use it, huh? Derp. Actually, let me just show you right here. So layout is this component that we're using. And really, as of right now, it's a very, very simple component. All it does is take whatever is passed as its children and then sends that along, but it wraps it in this container. So that is what we're doing by doing this. So if we were to then say, go over here, and I'll just use this and say /components/layout, and then change this to, I want it to be, oops, ooh, how'd that happen? Layout, sorry. And same thing here. Can we do change in tag here? No, or change CST, shoot. I don't remember how to do that command. Layout, okay. So then we have, you know, our layout being used here and over in our generic template, and just passing that along. And if we come back to this, this should still be working just fine. And if we go to the home page, we should have that container now. I'm curious why we don't. Oh, does this not use the generic template? Am I wrong? Does it use a page? It uses a page. Goodness. Okay. So we can do the same thing here then. We'll import /components/layout and change that to layout. And then CST layout. Okay. So now this layout wraps this whole thing. And there you go. Now we've got that working. What were we using generic for? Oh, this was for our generic data, wasn't it? That's right. So if we wanted to know that, we could go to our Gatsby node and we could look at, look for that generic word. There you go. Or you could do Control F, whichever you like. That was just Vim. I'm just doing slash. It's probably hard to see if I type slash. See on the bottom right down here. There's some words here. That's just like me searching there. Just so you know. I should probably do Control F so it's a little more visible. So yeah, we're using a generic template and we are passing along to that the data. Yeah. Data, page data. So data, page data. So that's when we are making it just from this simple example. So we're not really using that anymore, but we'll leave it for now. Okay, so you have this all built in a layout component. Now, why would we want to do that just for a class? That doesn't seem like that big of a maintenance deal. It still is nice because you might add other classes or you might add other parts. But in this layout, now what I want to do is I want to have another component, which I'll just make in here for now. So we'll say const footer equals, and then this footer probably won't take anything, but it will. I guess I could just make it a one-liner, huh? Nah. Let's keep it this way. Return, and we're going to make it a footer tag to be semantic. And so then what we can do is let's make, I don't know, let's make an unordered list. No, actually, let's just do something real simple. So we'll do ampersand, holy crap, I can't type, trademark symbol, and then we'll say copyright, and we could put the year. We could do some interpreted JS 2020, like a date.now. Let's just keep it like this for now. Be real simple. So now I have this footer, and all I have to do now is call footer. And when I do that, what will happen is there will be this footer added to every single one. And that's actually copy, not trade. There we go, the little copyright symbol. And what's cool about that is now when I go to /first-markdown, you will see at the bottom that copyright symbol. So we can also then, write some styles onto this. So we'll say style equals, and actually since we already have our global style sheet, let's stick with, doing classes and say, okay, this is just the footer, let's not be creative. We could also just target the footer if we wanted to, but sometimes you have multiple. It's pretty rare. But yeah, if you have like sections, you can have a footer per section semantically, and that's fine. Global CSS, SCSS is what we're using. We'll come down here and we'll say, this is for the dot footer class, not the footer tag. And I want it to have, let's say we'll have a min height of, I kind of want it to be a little taller. Let's do 100 pixels, try that out. And the background, maybe we'll base it on that saddle brown again, and we'll just make it kind of dark. I'm not sure, I'm just winging it. And then we do actually want to make this probably display flex, and we'll do align items center on that. And I think I'll keep that copyright left aligned. Okay. That looks hideous. That's okay. We will make the color. We'll use old lace. We'll kind of do a little inversion here. All right. So we probably would want this footer to go all the way across if we're going to do a background. And so that's pretty easy to do now because we have the footer right here and it's wrapped in this container, right? But what we could do is we could just make an outer container. We could do a fragment if we want to, and that will just make it not output any HTML at all for this. So it's just when you write JSX, if you're not familiar with this, you have to have one root tag whatever you return. So I couldn't put a div next to a div, you know, like this. I couldn't just leave it like this. That's not allowed. So you can do this, which is a fragment, which is the same as doing react.fragment. And when you do that, yeah, it will wrap it in nothing, essentially. Okay. So now we have a full width footer. We could put a little bit of like padding above it, maybe, in our styles here. And let's say, yeah, we'll do, or margin, actually. So we'll do margin top, and let's do like 1 rem, nothing crazy. And that should do that. Sometimes I'm dumb, so let's find out if I am. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's just really small. Let's do 2. There we go. Cool. So that will put this footer here, and you can see that it doesn't have the proper alignment that we want. So the simplest thing we could do here is just do justify content center. But if we wanted it to be kind of aligned with this, we could use that container class and put it on the footer as well and reuse that. But for now, we'll just leave it like this. And then my last adjustment here is just I'm gonna take this and tone it kind of dark. I want it to be practically black, but with just a little bit of that. That's probably pretty good. Might want to desaturate it a little bit. No, I'm not a expert designer here. I kind of like this grayscale one though, so maybe I'll go with that. That'll be good enough. And then I think this old lace also is probably fine. I might want to make it a little bit brighter. Okay, so take this. I don't know why it does that. That one was fine. I must be doing something wrong. Cool. So now we have a footer at the bottom, and if we were to change pages, you know, now you can see that this is starting to become useful in some way. No matter how we grow this footer or you know, what we want to add to it, it's going to be on every page. And it's not just footer. You know, we could individually import footer. We have this layout component that we want to wrap all of our pages in, because then let's say that you have like some material that you want to promote at the bottom, or a little newsletter form or something like that, and you want it on all of your pages. Well, then you can just drop that in here whenever you want. And that is pretty cool. So I think that's enough of creating a custom component and being able to reuse that in different layouts. And then what we'll do now is in the next video, I will show you how to use styled components as a way to style this differently than a global CSS.